Like, when I was watching the film, I was face-palming every couple of minutes and constantly comparing it to the anime that I know and love.
God.
But I can't say that I didn't enjoy the experience. I just don't think that I had the reaction that the creators were wanting. I very much saw this film less as the supernatural thriller it was probably meant to be, and more of a comedy.
Nope, it's totally going for some comedic value. Not sure how you missed that.
It's like the film was trying so hard to be this edgy, dark thriller.
Yeah, man, you mean like the anime and manga called Death Note, whose major demographic is angsty teen boys? Whatever do you mean?
If you want to make a Death Note film, make a Death Note film, not just some cheap imitation of one.
Alright, time to get into this. Netflix's Death Note is not as bad as many people make it out to be. In fact, it's actually pretty good. I'd say it's the best live-action American adaptation of any anime, though that's not really saying much. People have been shitting all over it, outright despising it. I think part of that comes from the type of folks who are always going to hate adaptations. Obviously, in this case, way more people are coming to Netflix from the anime, rather than the manga or the manga to anime. It goes back to that tired, old, awful saying that the book is always better than the movie. People don't like change, and Adam Wingard's Death Note alters a whole lot of the beloved source material. I was fully expecting to be right there with the critics up until about 5 minutes in. The trailers looked awful. I had my doubts about how they could even condense a 37-episode anime into a 90-minute film. It suffices to say this so easily could have been a shit show. But it's not. Death Note Americana is schlocky fun and sometimes cramped, but an enjoyable film nevertheless. One of its greatest strengths is knowing its limitations. There was no chance in hell that a film could ever cover the same material, the same methodical, intellectual chess match that the show has between Light and L. There was no hope of a lower budget film getting an impressive CGI Ryuk. These conundrums were solved through clever filmmaking though. Instead of trying to pretend to be smart like the anime does, because let's face it, Death Note is about smart characters, but it's not a smart show in and of itself. Wingard took the core of what the characters are and adapts them wisely. Light Turner isn't the pretty boy do-gooder of the school that all the girls crush on. He's a dumb teen like the target audience of Death Note. He's impulsive, and yeah, he shows a girl the Death Note pretty casually, but that's because he's a stupid fucking teen, and he has a crush on a girl who is finally giving him the attention he desires at the moment he's writing a power fantasy. I would do the same damn thing if I was 17 and all of a sudden I had the power of a god. Why wouldn't this over-it-all pretty girl who has already expressed interest in the against-the-grain, fuck society attitude not be turned on by Light's ability to murder all the assholes in the world? Sure, it's really fucking stupid that he did it, but again, they're teens. The Light Yagami of the anime is a freak aberration of a character, and not nearly as plausible or instantly fun to watch on screen. Yagami's initial motivations were always very slapdash, while Turner's are clear. He sees the shithead bullies getting away with physical and emotional abuse against kids at the school. His mother was murdered, and the dude got away with it, and he wants to get his dick wet. Those are good enough reasons for any hormonal teen boy. At the same time, Light's altruistic beginnings are quite apparent. He doesn't take the edgelord bait his crush Mia lays out for him when she calls people sheep. He believes they're deserving of the justice he can bring them, and Mia is so played up as this apathetic sociopath, standing cross-armed atop the formation during cheerleading practice, even lighting up a cigarette in the middle of it. It just further proves how self-aware this film is. This isn't to say the film is flawless. I think Death Note is just pretty good. A strong 6 to a light 7. There's far too much shoved into 90 minutes. It's almost as if the original plan was to do a 10-episode miniseries or something like that Netflix is known for, but they just couldn't get behind it. Of course, this is purely conjecture, but that's how it leaves me feeling. At times I'm wondering where the hell Ryuk is, or how the mind game between L and Light could be expanded, or more importantly, how Mia and Light's relationship could build a whole lot more to make the inevitable crumble more convincing. There are telltale signs of the romance breaking down after a montage of them murdering and fucking, but I'm not sure if how that plays out was supposed to be a twist, but it certainly didn't feel like one. And it's a shame the characters didn't have more room to breathe, because just like the anime, they're a whole lot of fun. Even in the moments where Light is screaming shrilly at the first sighting of Ryuk, which makes total sense when you actually think about it, because that would be fucking terrifying. I mean, he is completely in over his head. Meanwhile, Lakeith Stanfield, best known for his supporting role in Get Out, is a great L. He perfectly captures that unstable, eccentric, highly intelligent detective L is supposed to be, with his weird mannerisms and speech patterns to his candy addiction. There's a memorable performance here. Yeah, Willem Dafoe is great at voicing Ryuk as we all thought, but Stanfield really takes L in a direction that is distinct and more importantly in line with the schlocky goodness permeating throughout this film. You can definitely tell Wingard has a background in the horror genre. For those that don't know, he's directed shorts in the VHS films, but his most well-received works are The Guest and You're Next. Personally, I've only seen You're Next, but it is a pretty darn good film. The Rube Goldberg situations causing the gory deaths feel straight out of Final Destination. Makes sense given the occurrence of gods of death in both. Again, if you've not gotten that Wingard and Netflix's rendition of Death Note is playing up the silly side of anime, I'm not sure what you've been watching. Another area that isn't so well handled though is the rules of the Death Note, which the film even is aware of this, when Light makes the remark about so many fucking rules. Again, this is another issue of having to condense a very lengthy anime. The big problem I have, and maybe I missed something, but I doubt it, is how is Mia able to write in the Death Note? Isn't the Death Note only supposed to have one owner at a time? Ryuk even states multiple times that if Light wants to rid himself of the stress of possessing the Death Note, he simply needs to toss it for 7 days and the person who picks it up will be then the next owner. But Mia writes names in it clearly when the Death Note is still in Light's possession, so either this is poorly explained or a major plot hole. I'm betting on the former, or maybe I really am just an oblivious fucking idiot. All in all, Death Note isn't a bad film. It took a great amount of limitations upon its shoulders and managed to craft something fun out of what they had to work with, which really is fitting of Death Note, and way more than I expected. I'm not going to say the film isn't messy up until the very last second, but it's a mess that has you laughing and smiling at the absurdity throughout. And sure, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, but maybe those that disagree with me have bad opinions and you should maybe be written down in a Death Note for them. Maybe that's unreasonable though. Because the thing people often miss with adaptations is that they're, well, adaptations. That doesn't guarantee a one-for-one translation, which would already be difficult when crossing mediums. We don't need another Death Note in a near doppelganger style to the anime, manga, or even any of the Japanese live-action movies. We needed something different, and Wingard and his crew totally delivered on that front while still being respectful of the source. Listen, I get it, Death Note is arguably my favorite anime, and I want way more people watching it. And when we see things like Netflix adapting Death Note to a live-action movie, we think, oh, this can get people into the anime, that thing I love, the thing I want my friends and family to experience. But that isn't really what we need, and that probably isn't going to happen in the first place. Netflix's Death Note is good. I would never say you have to watch Death Note the movie over Death Note the anime, but it's a good supplemental piece of entertainment. It's a good take on something that I love, a good take that is different, that is fun, that is stupid. So in the end, I really don't feel like the movie did so much wrong as people came into this film with just wrong expectations. And I hope that's something that everyone does better in the future. That we can look at things and not just assume they're going to be what we expect. They're going to be what we've experienced before. Or that they need to be. Because all the limitations we place on art are exactly that. Limitations. As always, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. It is very much appreciated. I do try to get up a video per week. Don't hold me to it though, I'm not a professional. Though hey, if you support me in this matter, maybe I will be someday.